Hello, everybody, and welcome to an extra special Game News Roundup where we're going over the latest gaming news from, well, today. Not the last week, not the last few days, just today. As always, if you enjoy these, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe as I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I'm a little over 300 subscribers away. Maybe one of these years I will make it to 10,000. I realize that's not that many, but hey, show your support, do appreciate it. We'll get into the gaming news, and oh yeah, and as always, twitch.tv/TrunksWD is where these are always live streamed, if you want to join these live chats, or wherever I play random games. So anyways, first major thing, CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority, the UK regulators, have published Sony's response to their provisional findings, and Sony apparently alluded to Elder Scrolls 6 potentially being an Xbox console exclusive. I'm sure obviously it'll still come to PC, Game Pass, cloud streaming services, and whatnot. But potentially, Elder Scrolls 6 Xbox console exclusive. Mind you, this wouldn't be the first Elder Scrolls game to be an Xbox console exclusive, as Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind was an Xbox console exclusive. I mean, probably one of the main reasons, the fact that it would not have run on the GameCube or the PS2, as the original Xbox was the most powerful console that generation. And then Oblivion was a timed exclusive on the 360, and then it came out on the PS3 like a year later or so, but it came out on the 360 before the PS3 had launched. And then Skyrim, I believe, was a day one on Xbox 360 and PS3. And here we are well over a decade later since Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, and we're going to be waiting at least a few more years for Elder Scrolls 6. As of this recording, Bethesda is pushing the finishing touches on Starfield, which will be launching in just under 6 months. September 6th, I believe, of this year is the date. But anyways, we're just going to read Sony's direct quote in their response. Microsoft is fond of arguing that with its prior acquisitions, it did not make the existing already released games it acquired exclusive to Xbox, which is true. If you want to, I'm trying to think about the games. Elder Scrolls Online is still multi-platform. Skyrim, obviously still multi-platform. Minecraft is still multi-platform, which, you could say includes story mode, dungeons, and the upcoming Minecraft Legends. But, anyways, but the foreclosure concern in this case is not about past releases of Call of Duty. It is the impact of Microsoft making new Call of Duty releases, which are launched every year exclusive, as it is done for the new releases of Starfield. And the key thing here, Elder Scrolls, following the acquisition of ZeniMax in 2021. That's the real first thing of like, oh, Elder Scrolls 6, talking about how they're making, it just says Elder Scrolls exclusive, but we know Elder Scrolls Online is still multi-platform. Skyrim is multi-platform, and obviously we know the next Elder Scrolls game is likely going to be 6. As that was announced, 4 years ago? 5 years ago at this point? So potentially, Elder Scrolls 6 Xbox console exclusive, which not really, in reality, it's not really a big surprise. Starfield being exclusive, Redfall being exclusive. It sounds like future games from ZeniMax will be exclusive, unless it's already a previously released game. I think Microsoft has previously stated Minecraft and Call of Duty are too big of franchises to make Xbox console exclusive. I mean, yeah, sure, they still come to PC, but console-wise, Xbox exclusive. Yeah, as the PFs explains, or the provisional findings explain, these releases were announced in 2018 and were not expected at the time to be Xbox exclusives. But at the time, Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 did not have platforms announced. We did not hear anything about platforms for them. Actually, we haven't heard anything about platforms for Elder Scrolls 6 yet. Although it sounds like it'll be a Series X and S exclusive or next-gen Xbox exclusive. Depending on when it releases. Who knows at this point? And then Starfield, we didn't hear anything about what console was coming out until is it E3 2020? 2021? Yeah, I think 2021 where they announced it will be launching as an Xbox console exclusive, and of course on PC. But yeah, it was only after acquiring ZeniMax that Microsoft's Phil Spencer revealed that all along the deal had been about delivering great exclusive games for Xbox, which is true, and games for Game Pass as well. But they did say originally, I believe it was a kind of a case-by-case basis of what games would remain multi-platform, which ones would go exclusive. That was kind of a question mark until they finally announced Starfield being Xbox exclusive. And obviously Redfall is also exclusive. Hi-Fi Rush, which came out in January, also Xbox exclusive. and PC. But yes, when I say Xbox exclusive, I mean console exclusive, not on Nintendo or PlayStation. But obviously, we do know Microsoft has signed a deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to the Nintendo Switch and future Nintendo platforms for the next 10 years. But just Call of Duty, no other games from Activision Blizzard. Obviously, this is if the deal is approved by regulators, which at this point, I toss a coin. That's the odds I'll give you. About 50-50 odds, I think, of it passing. I think it sounds like the European Union is more likely to pass it. FTC's kind of wavering, but I feel like in the end, they're going to drop their lawsuit and just let it pass. It's really the UK regulators is like the big question mark right now, and I don't know where this is going to go. But Sony also, in their response, added that using Minecraft as an example for keeping a game multi-platform isn't relevant, as it is a single release while Call of Duty gets a new release every year. But of course, as I mentioned, Minecraft Story Mode, Minecraft Dungeons, and Minecraft Legends have been released after Microsoft acquired Mojang. At least I'm pretty sure Story Mode was. I know Dungeons obviously was, and Legends is coming out next month, so it definitely is. But yeah, second, Microsoft points to Minecraft as an example of an acquisition where it did not pursue exclusivity, but this example is not relevant to an exclusivity strategy regarding future releases of Call of Duty. Minecraft is a single-release game that is already in users' hands. Unlike Call of Duty, there are no future releases of Minecraft. I guess of the main Minecraft game, but there are side games getting released. With Legends. The CMA correctly points out that Minecraft's legacy monetization model of a one-time fee for lifetime access and updates differs significantly from Call of Duty, where users buy the new premium iteration of the game every year for a higher fee. Of course, Minecraft does have the marketplace where people can buy maps, skins, a bunch of other stuff. But anyways, Sony therefore agrees with provisional findings from the CMA that the more relevant indicator of Microsoft's intentions on exclusivity for Call of Duty is the ZeniMax deal. But of course, as I mentioned, Microsoft has worked out a deal with Nintendo to keep their game to release Call of Duty on Nintendo platforms. And Phil Spencer recently did say they want to increase the places where people can play Call of Duty, describing it like Minecraft. Microsoft has also signed 10-year deals with 3 different cloud streaming services to bring all Xbox games on PCs to these services, including NVIDIA's GeForce Now, the Ukraine-based Boosteroid, and Ubitus. If you watched the last video, I don't know how to pronounce that one. I could be wrong on Boosteroid, but I feel like that one's a little bit more likely to be right versus Ubitus. Ubitus. I'm not totally sure. But they'll be releasing all their Xbox games on PC to these cloud streaming services, including Activision Blizzard games on PC if that deal is approved. The always question is if it's approved. We don't know yet. Again, flip a coin. I have no idea at this point. If it gets passed, I mean, the thing is, as I've mentioned plenty of times, these get good views. And it's good news to keep people updated on the latest findings on what is the biggest acquisition in gaming. Several-fold bigger than the second biggest, which was like $12 billion something was the biggest gaming acquisition. And this is nearly $70 billion acquisition. The biggest acquisition, heck, in Microsoft's history. Huge. One of the biggest acquisitions, I think, in just history ever. For the amount of money that it is. So yeah. Potentially Elder Scrolls 6 almost confirmed, question mark, as an Xbox console exclusive whenever it launches. I'm going to assume 2026 or 2027, probably, maybe, at the earliest. But I could be wrong. The game has been in pre-production for many years. The scope of Elder Scrolls games, the open world, is not nearly as big as, say, Starfield is. And obviously they've made 5 Elder Scrolls games, or 6 if you include online. Maybe even more. There might be some other games I'm not thinking of for Elder Scrolls, but obviously this is Elder Scrolls 6. So, but yeah. Other things about the deal. The CMA has published responses from 6 different video game developers and publishers, all based in the UK, and all came out saying that the UK should move ahead and approve of Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition. 4J Studios was the only developer to have been named, while the other 5 have remained anonymous. Who are the other 5 developers, other than being based in the UK? We don't know. They elected to remain anonymous. If you read their responses, you can see what the name would have been. It's just blacked out or just says redacted. But So yeah, 4J Studios chairman and co-founder, in a statement, the games industry is now the world's largest entertainment industry, and as such, it is inevitable that companies like Microsoft need to gain access to more content and talent to justify their continued investment into large-scale hardware platforms such as Xbox. We do not see the proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard as anything other than a natural evolution of the industry, and it does not give us any cause for concern for our own future opportunities. Another studio in its own statement said, "We believe that consumers' tastes and preferences in the video game space cut across a broad array of games in a wide variety of genres and platforms. As such, we do not believe that any title can be considered a must-have in the interactive entertainment market," obviously referring to Call of Duty. In the context of this dynamic and considering Microsoft's stated commitment to make certain games available on all platforms, obviously Call of Duty being the main one, we do not believe the proposed transaction will negatively impact consumers. The CEO from another independent video game developer, in his own statement, said, the developer has worked with top game publishers, including Microsoft, Sony, and Activision. Yeah, they did state Microsoft always honors their contracts and obligations. When they say that they intend to make Call of Duty content available on Sony and Nintendo platforms, I believe them, and I believe it is in their interest as well as the interest of the industry. If Microsoft is prevented from acquiring Activision, would the UK consumers be better served if they were acquired by Tencent instead? Tencent is the biggest, I think, third-party gaming company out there, they're based in China. Chinese publishers in our industry benefit from an unfair advantage due to the fact that the China market is closed to Western companies through various regulations, while Chinese companies can freely access the Western markets. Letting Microsoft and Activision consolidate their business in light of this fast-growing competition would not be against the interest of UK consumers. Fourth company, who is a developer and a publisher of AAA titles who has released games on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, and mobile platforms, stated, "We are of the opinion that it is difficult to predict exact effects of the anticipated acquisition by Microsoft Corporation of Activision Blizzard, in particular due to the complexity of the video game industry and diversity of Microsoft's own business operations. We do not, however, expect any significant impact of the merger on our company, nor the distribution of our own products. In particular, we do not expect the merger to pose any risk to the distribution of our own games on Xbox or other consoles." A fifth company who has released games on various gaming platforms, including both Xbox and PlayStation, and found their video game sales on Xbox and PlayStation have moved in different directions with the structure of each platform being different. So the fifth company's direct statement, on PlayStation, we found our sales growing stagnant with each release. This is mainly due to the fact that despite PlayStation having the lion's share of player numbers and console sales, that share is mainly provided to larger titles from huge publishing labels and or developers and publishers who are willing to spend lots of money on paid marketing within the PlayStation console. However, they did add, on Xbox, the opposite has come true over the last several years. There are numerous means of players finding your games on Xbox, including in special sections on the store and through the Xbox Game Pass service. As a result, we found that despite Xbox having a much smaller player base and console sales than PlayStation, our games sell just as well on Xbox since more players are finding our games there. So, they're basically saying Xbox Store is more friendly to indie developers than the PlayStation Store, despite Xbox having a smaller user base than on PlayStation. The sales are pretty even between the two. And that fifth company concluded, the acquisition will not all of a sudden make Xbox a dominant platform. It's far more likely that it may help create a more level playing field between Xbox and PlayStation, which, at this point in time, is sorely needed. PlayStation needs better competition to force the platform to up its game, and this will surely help do that. Yes, so I kind of figured, even if, hypothetically speaking, Microsoft made every single game from Activision Blizzard, including Call of Duty, exclusive to Xbox and PC, which obviously they're not going to do, at least for 10 years. I see it maybe moving 20 million people at most from PlayStation to Xbox. I'm considering the sales gap between PlayStation and Xbox, that would, sales-wise, would bring them more on par with each other than making Xbox the dominant platform and way ahead of PlayStation. But of course, this also excludes Nintendo, which the Switch has outsold the PlayStation 4 and potentially has a chance to become the best-selling video game platform of all time. But people always consider Nintendo kind of their own thing, because obviously they don't really have Activision Blizzard games on the platform. Other than, I think Overwatch 2 is on the Switch, but obviously Call of Duty is not on the Switch. So yeah, and the sixth company who came out in their support, gave two reasons. We honestly found the arguments against this acquisition to be slightly exaggerated and out of proportion. We are worried that actual real competition and more innovative consumer-friendly initiatives could be potentially hindered by blocking this by potential market leaders, competitors who might not be ready or might believe in a different strategy or just not compelled to change their status quo on the market. While we do not want to point fingers at anyone's struggle to create and maintain a good culture for employees, as this is challenging for any company has always been, we do see that a change in scenery with a new home at Microsoft might be good for some of our colleagues working in the studios on the various projects. Yeah, this is 6 video game developers again, based in the UK, coming out in favor of the Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Sony's been obviously the biggest company against the deal, which makes sense. They want to stop it at all costs because they know it could hurt their business. So it makes sense for them to do it. I think Google has been kind of against it, but obviously since they've shut down Google Stadia, that's not really an issue per se. And obviously Microsoft, with all these deals in place with Nintendo and some of these streaming services, it probably is enough to make the European Union regulators happy to approve the deal. And I know one of them, is it the FTC or the CMA, the US or UK regulators, was mentioned like they need to sign a deal with Sony, but Sony obviously has come out and said they ain't signing a deal with Microsoft on Call of Duty. They just want to block the merger, which obviously makes sense why Sony wants to block the merger, doing everything they can to try to do so. So, again, I am 50-50 on the deal potentially being passed. I think the European Union regulators are likely to be the next one to pass it. FTC, I think, is leaning towards will probably eventually block their lawsuit and then let the deal pass, potentially. Though there's still a chance they might not. They might take it actually to court. Other than the biggest question, as I say, CMA, UK regulators, question mark. You know? It sounds like they're leaning towards more likely to block it, but in the end, we'll find out over the coming months. I forget I think the deadline for some of them for the European Union and the UK is sometime in April. It's like 25th and 26th of April, something like that. So hopefully in just over a month, we'll hopefully have their findings there, whether they block the deal or approve the deal. Hopefully we'll know in just over a month's time. And I say then we can move on from this deal, whether it's passed or not passed. But I have a feeling there'll still be stuff coming out, and Microsoft will, if the deal gets blocked, will be fighting it, or if the deal gets approved, Sony will keep on fighting it. So, one last thing to go over. PlayStation head of independent developer initiative, Shuhei Yoshida, is going to be honored with being awarded the Bafta Fellowship Award at the Bafta Games Awards on March 30th at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. The Bafta Fellowship recognized Yoshida as a champion of independent developers. So the Bafta, in its own quote, through his personal social media presence and his corporate endeavors, he has consistently nurtured the creativity and innovation of the indie games industry and regularly champions indie games through podcasts, official PlayStation videos, and wider games media. Yoshida has worked at PlayStation his entire career, which started in 1993, the very early days of PlayStation. He was also president of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios from 2008 to 2019, and now he's again the head of Independent Developer Initiative. Yoshida, in his own statement, said, "Throughout my career, I've had the privilege of working with incredibly talented teams who've developed some of the best games in the industry. I've always celebrated alongside these developers as their games have received well-deserved rewards. It is an amazing honor for me to receive an accolade of my own." And I would say this is a well-deserved award for Yoshida for all the work he has done over the years. And Bafta CEO said Shuhei Yoshida is a pioneer in the games world and is hugely deserving of a Bafta fellowship. His collaborative, supportive approach continues to drive progress within the industry, using his platform to promote the voice and craft of others and champion the work of independent designers, studios, and creators. We look forward to honoring his contribution to games at the ceremony on Thursday, March 30th. So, yeah, that is going to do it for today's Game News Roundup. The main thing was like, wait a minute, Elder Scrolls 6 potentially being Xbox exclusive. That's the main reason I wanted to do this today. As you can probably see in the thumbnail and probably with the title. But yeah, again, if you enjoyed this, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, and twitch.tv/TrunksWD if you want to join my live streams. Usually Mondays and Wednesday, usually around 6:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern start time for me. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching for this Game News Roundup, and I'll catch you all next time.